Lovely. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, Africa, and warm welcome to State of the Nation right here on KBN TV from Zambia's capital city, Lusaka. With me, Innocent Piri, sitting in on behalf of Pastor Kenneth Mamboy. Now, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, is currently leading three major processes: the delimitation of constituencies, voter registration, and the Electoral Process Amendment Bill of 2026. On 6th February 2026, ECZ officially launched the nationwide delimitation exercise, a step aimed at redefining electoral boundaries to ensure fair and effective representation. Following this launch, the Commission held a stakeholders engagement meeting on Wednesday, 12 February 2026 to receive submissions and public inputs on the proposed Electoral Process Amendment Bill. This engagement formed part of ECZ's mandate to promote transparency, inclusiveness in shaping Zambia's electoral framework. However, many stakeholders across the country are still seeking clarification, or rather more information about what delimitation really means and how it will be conducted, but also how it will affect constituencies ahead of the 2026 general elections. Joining me on set this evening is the Chief Electoral Officer, CEO of ECZ, Mr. Brown Kasaro. CEO, welcome, and good evening to the program.
Good evening, Innocent, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the nation through your wonderful program.
Fantastic. How is the Commission? Let's start from there.
The Commission is busy attending to the programs that you highlighted as you opened the program. Really, right now, three parallel activities that are being undertaken by the Commission.
Yep.
So these being the delimitation of constituencies. Then we're also at the same time preparing for the inspection of the provisional register and also attending to the Electoral Process Amendment Bill 2026. Yeah.
I can imagine how much time you have for you to just, rest with your team at ECZ, knowing that we've got about, I think, 4 or 5 months from now to the elections. Are you able to rest, really?
Well, what is guiding the Commission is we have a program in place. Of course, we've shared with the nation the roadmap going towards 2026. And what is on our tables now is to implement according to that roadmap. Of course, the roadmap that we've shared with the nation is a high-level version. But underneath, as you've rightly put it, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And more often than not, this requires our officers to work late in the night, sometimes overnight.
Wow.
But it has to be done because our deadline is fixed. Wow. We cannot move August 13th, so we have to deliver on that deadline. Yeah.
Thank you so much, CEO. Of course, for those that are joining us, remember we are found on DSTV channel 279, GoTV channel 27, and Topsa Decoder channel 102. The program is also live on our social media platforms. That's our KBN TV Facebook page, as well as our YouTube platform. You can follow the conversation. CEO, as you come here, there are so many questions to be answered by you this evening, which the viewers have been sending. When we advertised that you are going to appear on this platform, there are quite, a number of questions that have come through. But we can't manage to answer all of them. We just try and select what you can respond to. The first question would be, how exactly did the Electoral Commission of Zambia determine the criteria used in order to create the new constituencies that are earmarked? We're talking about 70 more constituencies across the country. What criteria was used?
All right. So I see two aspects to that question. Firstly, it's the number 70.
Right.
So that number is coming from the Constitution.
Right.
Okay. So the number of constituencies to be established in the country is a figure that is spelled out in the Constitution.
Right.
So, following the amendment to the Constitution on 18th December 2025, the Constitution now states that the country will have 226 constituencies.
Correct.
So, if you take 226, subtract 156, the current number of the previous number of constituencies, the current, yes. The difference is 70. So this means then that the commission, because it is the body, it's the institution that is mandated to demarcate these constituencies, has to do so before the next dissolution of Parliament. So this is where the 70 is coming from. Right. So that's the first level of the question in terms of the criteria. Correct. So the number 70. The second level then is how are we going to arrive then on the ground at this 70? So this is the process that we've embarked upon. The constituency has said establish 70. But how do we arrive at this 70 on the ground? So now that again is guided by the Constitution. So the Constitution says in Article 59, spells out the criteria that the Commission is to use to establish these constituencies. Yeah. So not in any order, but just to highlight a few of these, is that the Constitution guides that the constituency boundaries have to be within a district. So this ties into one of these processes that we've put in place of us going to the district and consult, because the constituencies have to be within districts. The Constitution goes further to indicate that in establishing these constituencies, the Commission has to take into consideration the population density, the trends, and projections. So then what this means then is that you look at a particular district and say, how has the population grown in the previous 10 years, for example? And then you say, how is it projected to grow going forward? Are there any significant development in the near future that will influence the population for that particular district? I think what a lot of Zambians can relate to, for example, is, are we anticipating a mine to open in this district? Correct. Then you and I know that the population will jump. So those are the factors that we have to look at. Then there's also the fact that the Constitution indicates that in establishing these constituencies, the Commission has to strive for an approximate equal number of inhabitants per constituency, while bearing in mind that balancing between densely populated and sparsely populated communities, so the urban and the rural. So what this means then is, all things being equal, if the population in Zambia was spread very evenly, all what we would do is say, all right, what's the population of Zambia? 20 million. How many constituencies do we need? 226. Divide that. On average, you need a population of 90,000 gives you a constituency. But you and I know that the settlement patterns are very different from urban and rural. So given these realities, the Constitution is alive to that and says, bearing in mind this, pay attention to the fact that both the urban and the rural need to be represented. Correct. So when it comes to the rural constituencies, the population may be significantly less than the average that I've given. But however, they're still Zambians. They need to be represented. So that's what the Constitution is speaking to there. Then also there's aspect of means of communication, the geographical features, and so on. There's a lot that we can speak to in terms of geographical features. A lot of our country has swamps, for example, has national parks, has huge water bodies. Some of our districts are islands, and mainlands like Chirubi. You know, as an example, you have districts like Mitete and these others that have so you have to look at all those features and communication and the other geographical. Others, it's issues of mountains, you know, those on along the Muchinga escarpment. So you have your Nyimba, you have your Mukushi and so forth. So those are some of the factors at play that in considering establishing these constituencies. Then there's also the aspect of the history, cohesion and diversity of the particular communities in establishing those constituencies. So one has to strike a balance between diversity and cohesion, so that then the representation is alive to the social factors at play in a particular community. So these are the factors that are guiding the Electoral Commission in establishing these 70 constituencies. Yeah.
Interesting. So you've got 4 or 5 months before the general election. This simply means that you are working, you know, I don't want to use the word under pressure or against time, but you have to ensure that everything is done before the general election, meaning that you've got little or limited time. My question now is, have you carried out an assessment to determine which constituencies may be divided or rather delimited to this end?
So this is the process that we are undertaking right now. So on 6th February, as you indicated, when the chairperson did speak to the nation, she laid out a program. So the commission has laid out a program on how we're going to do the assessment.
Right.
So what the commission is saying is that, yes, there have been reports before, but we'll use those as reference information. But ultimately, we need to talk to the people in each of the 116 districts. So this program, it will start next week on Monday. So this week, as we speak, what we're doing is we are training our officers. As you may be aware, the Electoral Commission operates, executes its functions at district level through the district electoral officers, who are the town clerks or council secretaries for the respective districts. So these are the principal officers of the local authorities, of the councils. So now we are training these principal officers, who are our district electoral officers, together with a support team, on how to facilitate the stakeholder consultations for their respective districts. So this week we're training them. Then starting next week, the commission has put together several teams. So on any given day, I think we're talking an average of on any given day, we're talking an average of 25 districts will be meeting right across the country. So we have teams in each of the 10 provinces. So the district meetings are one day where they will consult, so that then these factors that we're talking about can be spoken to by the stakeholders in those districts. So this process will run the next 1 week or so. At the end of that phase of this program, the district will agree on a proposal that they will submit to the commission. Then the commission will visit each of the 10 provinces and receive the submissions from the districts. So those districts will go to the provincial headquarters and submit. So in their submission, what will they be saying? They'll be saying, we met on a particular date and resolved as stakeholders in our districts that this is our proposal. We deserve, they'll submit, we deserve an extra constituency, and this is the boundaries. This is so the current constituency or constituencies will adhere, and the new constituencies will encompass this area. And this is the name we also propose for the new constituency. So those submissions will be made to the commission. And then once the commission receives all the submissions from the 116 districts, the commission will proceed now to further analyze those, again based on the factors that we spoke to earlier. And then at that point, determine, because the mandate lies with the commission, to determine the 70. So the assessment you spoke to is this same process. Yeah. Yes, delimitation is a technical exercise, ultimately. However, because we're not dealing with, something that does not affect the people, it affects the people. It speaks about representation. And there are certain other factors that can only be determined when you get on the ground. For example, the aspect of developmental prospects. We have to get onto the ground to appreciate what are the anticipated developments in districts that may affect the population. The aspect of the social issues around, so that speak to the cohesion or the diversity or the history of that, that can only be obtained from the ground, interacting with the stakeholders, and any other challenge that they face. So it is for this reason that this is a hybrid between a technical undertaking and this stakeholder consultation, so that the result of the process speaks to the realities on the ground. So yes, the assessment that you spoke to is being covered in two ways: referencing what has been done before, and also the engagement with the stakeholders in each of the districts to arrive at the 70. So the provincial sittings are projected to conclude by mid-March. Then the commission then would, from mid-March to early April, will use that time now to consolidate and arrive and make the determination of the 70. And by 15th April, the commission will inform the nation that these are the new 70 constituencies via a gazette notice, but also sharing that information using the available public media, rather the available means of communication, so widely circulated newspapers, social media, television yourselves, and all these platforms. Now, the Constitution also guides that these new boundaries will take effect at the next dissolution of Parliament, so which is mid-May. So it is for this reason that they'll be announced mid-April, so that by the time mid-May comes, then they take effect. So this is the timeline that the Commission has put together for us to be able to achieve this.
When I listen to you, really, it appears this to be more like a rushed process. A citizen out there, a voter out there would think that this process just come on your table right away. Instead, perhaps you should have handled this process as CEO maybe some years back, maybe last year or the other year. But of course, you've got your own calendar, as you have mentioned, and you strongly believe that you shall meet the deadline. Now, my question is what mechanisms are available for citizens out there in the rural areas, in the communities, who feels that maybe this proposed process of delimitation may disadvantage their communities? How are you carrying everybody on board? So
it's twofold. The citizen participation is twofold. So the first level is the stakeholder meetings that I spoke to. That these meetings, we have key community representatives that the Commission will invite to these meetings. So these include members of Parliament for that district, the mayors or council chairperson for that district, the councillors for that district, heads of government departments for that district, traditional leaders in that district, civil society organizations in that district, faith-based organizations in that district, interest groups, special interest groups, those that look at the affairs of persons with disabilities, youth, women, in that district. Now, beyond that, what the Commission has said is that these meetings will be open to the public, be open to the general public. So at that meeting, citizens have an opportunity to put across their views in terms of why they deserve an extra constituency, and this constituency, which area should it cover. Now, coming back to your earlier submission that the process seems rushed and so on. Now, this delimitation is not coming in from nowhere. This is an issue that has been an item of national debate over a long time. even before 2019, the last time the Electoral Commission of Zambia was on the ground to consult stakeholders in the districts. So citizens have been speaking. Citizens have been making submissions. Citizens have been thinking about this thing and talking about this thing. Even when last year in 2025, rather beginning late 2024 into 2025, as part of the electoral legal reforms, the Commission did put together an electoral reform technical committee. As that committee went round, delimitation was a discussion item. So as citizens are discussing this, they're not just discussing this in thin air. They're already thinking about their community. Right. So you know, they're already talking.
Can't take it away from them.
Yeah, so they're already talking and they're able to relate. So if it's in a particular, let's take for example, in Lusaka, they will be relating to say, oh, look, we need delimitation because we're thinking of constituency A, constituency B, and so forth. Rearranging so that we have so many more in Lusaka. So the same discussion, so that at these meetings, we're not starting from zero, as it were. Citizens have been discussing these things. They have ideas, they have proposals that they have made over the years. But the difference now is that it will be for 70 of those submissions, this now will be a reality. So such that then they have that opportunity to make the submission. Now, like any other process, the law also provides that once the Commission issues a notice, gazettes these boundaries, one can challenge the outcome in the Constitutional Court. So that's the last option, as it were, for any challenge of the process as a way of a dispute resolution.
At what point can one challenge the...
After that the Commission has gazetted, has informed the nation that these are the 70, because right now we don't have.
So we're talking about before the general election?
Yes, before the general
during
election.
During
that time, yes.
Right.
Yes. So that's an opportunity that the Constitution has provided, that this can be challenged before the Constitutional Court. Yeah. So really, but the primary one that would like to emphasize to the nation is take advantage of these stakeholder meetings in the districts. And beyond that, even at the provincial, as your district electoral officer takes your submission, if you have the means, you have the opportunity, follow, go and witness, so that you can rest assured that yes, the district electoral officer submitted what we agreed at the district and so forth. Yeah. So that's the mechanism that the Electoral Commission has put in place to ensure that there's maximum participation from the citizens out there. Yeah.
Also, let's look at some of the reforms that you are proposing in the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, which also has taken a center stage in the country. What are some of the reforms are you looking at? What are some of the reforms contained in the bill to this end?
Yeah, so the primary objective of the bill really is to operationalize this new electoral system. Now, so remember that the amendment of the Constitution has introduced this concept of proportional representation.
Correct.
Okay, so really what the Constitution has put in place is that besides the members of Parliament that will be nominated by the President, but two main categories of members of Parliament, or two main ways of being elected to the House, to the National Assembly. First is what is referred to as constituency-based seats. So you stand to be elected in any of those 226 constituencies. So for those, it's, as has been the case, first past the post or simple majority. Whoever gets the highest votes in that constituency is elected to go to Parliament. But the Constitution also has introduced a second way to get into the House. And this is saying, let's look at the votes, the valid votes that presidential candidates would have obtained in that election. So come August 13th, for presidential candidates that would have been sponsored by a political party. Okay? So all those presidential candidates that would have been sponsored by a political party, after the results are declared, then you say, these results, what is the proportion of the total? So this is where the word proportional representation. So what is the so if we put together the valid votes obtained by this, let's say it's 5 candidates for argument's sake. You put together, those are sponsored by a political party. You put together all their votes and say, all right, candidate number 1, what proportion of this total vote has this candidate obtained? Now, depending on that proportion, we say, all right, the Constitution says there are these 40 seats available for this particular political party that sponsored this candidate to nominate or elect within the, and they will go to Parliament. So that those 40 seats have been further broken down. 20 of those women, 15 of those youth, and 5 for persons with disability. So if the proportion that this particular candidate sponsored by a political party qualifies them to nominate, let's say, 20 in total, then we say, all right, out of the 10 women seats, for example, 20 rather, they get 10. So the 10 women from that political party will go to Parliament as members of Parliament on this proportional representation. Then they go to the youth, 15. Then maybe we say, oh, 7 out of those belong to this political party. Then they put forward those names. Then the last 3 from persons with disability. So you add up, they make the 20 that is proportional to the share of valid votes that candidate got from the total presidential vote. So that's, so now it is the mechanisms now they have, because the Constitution just gives the broad principles. So in the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, we are outlining now the steps and the procedures and the processes to help make sure that this is done. So the political parties are ready and they follow through the processes. So, for example, one of the items that we outlined is that the political parties would need to submit lists of these candidates. Okay? So to say, and in submitting that list, the political party will submit that list on the assumption that, assuming we get 100%, these are the 20 women who would like to go to Parliament on this proportional system. These are the 15 youth that will going to go to Parliament on this proportional system. These are the 5 persons with disability that will go to Parliament on this. So they need to, so there's a procedure. This is what the bill outlines. There's a procedure of how to get those in those lists to the Commission, and those have to qualify. What is the criteria? What qualification do they need to? So, for example, what does it mean to be a youth? What does it mean to be a person with disability? You know, in a classical case, you and I would say we also have a disability because we're putting on glasses, but do we really qualify to be on that list? No, maybe not. So those are some of the issues that are being spelled out in this bill. But also, like I indicated earlier, last year, the Electoral Commission did have an Electoral Reform Technical Committee that looked at the laws that govern elections in Zambia, from the Constitution way down. Some of these findings and recommendations informed the amendment to the Constitution, including what we're talking about, the proportional representation. But there are others that spoke to the Electoral Process Act. There are certain items that can be improved to make the election process clearer and more effective, as it were. So those are some of the issues that are outlined in this bill. So, for example, the aspect of clarifying this whole issue of the inspection of the register of voters and how to deal with objections on the provisional register of voters. There's aspect of adoption of candidates, for political parties, that for candidates that want to contest any of the elections that are being sponsored by a political party, what documentation do they need to show to prove that the party has really sponsored them? So that, there's also the aspects of duties of a returning officer. We're clarifying that it was a little bit grey, so it needed to be spelled out clearly. There's also the aspect of certain procedures of stamping the ballot paper at the back in the polling station. So this stamp is what is referred to as official mark. There's that proposal to say, look, there's issues around this that were resulting in a lot of rejected ballots. How can we facilitate this? We can go into
that's the official mark you want to get rid of.
Yeah. So maybe let me dwell in a little bit more detail on that.
Do that.
So let's start by the rationale. Okay. So let me explain what this official mark is. So a ballot paper, when the commission prints a ballot paper, it's a very secure document. It has inherent security features in itself as a ballot paper. And I wish to advise the nation that from our understanding as the Electoral Commission, I think it's only second to the currency note in terms of the features, the security features on the ballot paper. There are certain prints that you can only see by using UV light. You can't photocopy it. It will clearly show that this is a photocopy. So it's a very secure document. There are fibers in there in the paper that it's printed on. So there's a lot of security that is inbuilt into the ballot paper. And in addition to that, all ballot papers are serialized to the extent that as we deploy them, as we distribute them, we know the serial number that will go to the serial number range that will go to a particular polling station. Right. That's the only, it's that precise. Okay, so now it's historically it's an issue that is arising from way back in the electoral process. Okay, so what happens now at the polling station is that once in the polling station, an officer, so the first desk you go to, you're identified as a voter. Okay, once you are confirmed that you're a registered voter in that polling station, then you go to the next table to get the ballot paper, to receive the ballot paper. So the procedures right now indicate that as you receive that ballot paper, it should be stamped. It's a normal date stamp, and with the word official mark, and stamped at the back. And then you proceed to mark that ballot and cast it. So now, the issue is that in several instances, we've had situations where the officers skip to stamp. And if you follow the law as is, that ballot paper is rejected. And we've had situations, I think in the past 2-3 general elections, where the rejected ballot paper as a percentage of the votes count has come out as number 3. So you have the top 2 presidential candidates, and then number 3 is rejected. And the majority of those is not because the voter made the mistake. It's because this person forgot to stamp at the back. The commission does its best to train and inform, but this happens. But then we looked at what is the overall objective of this official.
That. So
the issue is, it's a historical issue. You may wish to note that before 2006, for those that follow elections in Zambia, the counting of votes was not being done at the polling station. The counting of votes was being done centrally at the constituency. So then the allegation then, the issue then, the discomfort from stakeholders was, as the presiding officer is moving with the ballot box from the polling station to the totaling center, things can happen on the way. Yeah. That's where the word
staffing. A lot of accusations.
That's where the word staffing came from. That they staffed. Now, during the prior to the 2006 elections, There were electoral reforms.
Right.
And those reforms are what introduced the counting at the polling station. So now what happens is that you open the polling station with observers, monitors present at 06. Everyone is in the room. Let's check the transparent ballot boxes. Are they empty? Yes. You seal and just leave the aperture where you slot in them. You seal. Everyone agreed, empty, we're starting. People come in and receive the ballot paper and they start slotting in. At the end of the day, you're not leaving that room. You open the ballot box and count. Say, okay, before you even open, you say, look, let's look at our registers, all of us as officers of the Electoral Commission and you as monitors and observers. How many people entered this room? Let's say it's 100, for example. We expect to see 100 ballot papers in that. Before you even open, right. Then you open and count. Before you even assign to any candidate, you count so that the number should balance with the number of people you've counted that came into that polling station to count. So you're not leaving the room, okay? And then you open, and then you do the count and so forth. So what does this do? It limits, if not eliminates, opportunity for staffing. Because you're not moving out of that room. There's no transferring. There's no, okay? So now we're saying, can we balance this then? That, look, all we need to check is, look at this ballot paper design. Is it really what we have? If there's a strange paper in there, we'll be able to. So people will say, no, what if people print in Matero? Are you sure they're going to print as per specification of the Electoral Commission? Right. It's a very secure document. So we're not removing the inherent security feature. Right. All we are saying is, what we're proposing is, could we take out this issue of the stamping because it's creating this issue. But nonetheless, the bill is out there. Right. Stakeholders are commenting on this issue. Sometimes, because of the lack of information, the bill is the bill as it is. There's no explanatory notes. It's just sitting there, and people think, "Oh, you want to take out the security feature." No. So this is the context that we are speaking to. So the bill is out there. It's being debated, and as part of the process, those considerations will be made. So that's one of the issues. I was highlighting the objectives of the amendment, but we had to zero in on that because you had already highlighted. So one then I think I did speak to the implementation of the proportional representation. So really this is the objective of this amendment bill, to continue to improve upon the electoral process, as it were, so that the election management is as credible as possible.
Quite interesting indeed. So clearly we put this on record that your efforts to take out the stamping aspect has got nothing to do with the rumors we hear or allegations that the Commission is intending to rig the elections using this electoral bill reform.
Totally, nothing can be further from the truth. So as I've explained here, the security features of the ballot papers remain intact. And those security features are inherent on the ballot paper. Okay? Such that, as I indicated earlier, the allegations that people print and so forth, really, yeah, it's a very secure document. It's a very secure document. What I was referring to, what is referred to as the official mark, is a stamping at the back of the paper.
Right.
Yeah. So one might say, for argument's sake, probably wouldn't the argument be then that even that very stamp can be made if you go to the effort of printing something that looks as authentic as the original? What about a stamp? Isn't that easier? Yeah, so that's one of the, so those are some of the considerations that have to come into this debate.
Right.
But what we're saying is, look, let's discuss this, let's debate it and see. But ultimately, what we're saying is really, at the end of the day, it's the right of the voter.
Right.
Should the voter's vote be set aside on this technicality that is already adequately compensated for by the inherent security feature on the ballot paper?
Right.
Yeah. So that's
Let me take you back a little bit, CEO, as we try to squeeze in time to the delimitation exercise. The voter registration exercise was already done.
Yes.
You are now moving towards verification. Now, here's an example. For example, myself, I'm voting from Makeni, that's Bayoni Basic School,
Yes,
which is under Kanyama constituency.
exactly.
Peradventure, if, for example, Kanyama is divided or is delimited, and then I want to assume that those constituencies are already full, already registered.
Yes.
How do you shift me from where I'm scheduled to go and vote from into that new constituency, which is likely to be maybe created along the way? Or what will happen? Are you going to open up another maybe registration exercise? What's the rationale there?
All right. So we realize that maybe it's in the word delimitation itself.
Correct.
And sometimes we use demarcation. That sometimes it may bring up images in our minds that Bayuni basic school will literally be moved.
Or secondary school, as it were.
Yeah, will be moved into the new constituency.
Yes.
No, Bayuni,
remember,
it's a physical location on the ground.
Under Kanyama constituency.
Yes, I'm coming to that. So now, when it comes to voter registration, when you went to register at Bayuni, you were issued a voter's card.
Yes.
That come election day, you vote at Bayuni. The voter's card says you are Innocent Piri is registered as Bayuni. That doesn't change. That will not change.
Right.
So if tomorrow, if through this process we say, all right, Kanyama will now give birth to another constituency, and for argument's sake, for example, we say, all right, Los Angeles Road will be the boundary of the new constituency. On the left is Kanyama South, just as an example.
Yeah.
Then, is Bayuni on the left or the right? You need to educate me. So if
on the left now.
Yeah, so if Bayuni is on the left, we're saying, all right, Innocent, you still voted Bayuni. Your details are intact at Bayuni. However, now, Bayuni belongs to Kanyama South constituency. Now, when we do nominations in May, in the same way now, even if you are to remain in the whole Kanyama constituency, do you know who is standing in Kanyama now?
No, I don't know.
Yes, there is a serving member of parliament there, but you're not 100% sure that you're waiting for nominations to know who will be the candidates on which party in Kanyama constituency. Right. In the same way, if Kanyama gives birth to another constituency and Bayuni is in Kanyama South, then come the nominations, you will know the candidates that will be contesting in Kanyama South. Come election day, you will go to Bayuni, find your names and details in the register of voters at Bayuni, and cast your vote there. So as far as the register is concerned, no voter is being moved. I think that's where, or shifted, right, as far as the register of voters is concerned.
Right.
The only thing that will change is which constituency do we belong to as a voter.
Right.
That's what will change for those that will benefit from the 70. Okay? So that's the only thing. Now, to go a step further, I don't know whether you know what ward Bayuni school is.
Yeah.
That word will also not be tampered. It will remain the same. Right. So you vote for a councillor in the ward that you were previously in. That word will remain. So in establishing these new constituencies, we'll be regrouping the wards, rearranging. So if Kanyama, for example, has 8 wards or 10 or so, then we say, okay, no, these 5, and maybe also take a few from whether it's Matero, for argument's sake, and say, look, these now belong to the new constituency. These remain in what was what we would call the odd constituency. So voters out there, rest assured that once you verify your details come March 2nd to 8th, and you're on the register of voters, rest assured, come polling day, go to your polling station. That's where you vote from. That does not change and will not change.
Right. When you talk about the reforms that you are undertaking right now, CEO, one would wonder as to why is the commission going against, or why is it going at variance with the reports, for example, election observer mission reports, which include the ECZ itself, where you belong, the post-elections reports that guides you that you cannot implement new laws closer to an election or 18 months before a general election is conducted. Whether I'm wrong or correct, but you are here to clarify. But from the information I have so far, this is what is guided.
Yes, ideally in international best practice, electoral legal reforms ought to be done in good time. Before, okay? Now, the changes to the law are a very dynamic and a very broad process. Okay. In this case, the Electoral Commission is the implementer. Okay. Yeah. What has necessitated this is the change to the Constitution. So ideally, as the Electoral Commission of Zambia, we would have loved that the Constitution was amended 2 years back, or a year back, or when it, the original process started. Okay. Now, that was a process that was not being managed by the Electoral Commission. It had, there was stakeholder engagement. The first time it started, there were issues, and as a country, we agreed we needed more engagement and so forth. So here we are. The Constitution has been amended, and the Constitution says, for example, the limitation, it has to take effect at the next dissolution of Parliament. So, as such, the Commission is compelled to execute on that. So, yes, ideally this should be done in good time. Yeah. But we are where we are at. The nation is already alive to what led to, if one may call it, delay in terms of amendment to the Constitution. So, but as a country, we've amended the Constitution.
Does it mean that you have to ignore the international laws which guides or prescribe on how an election should be conducted, on how legal reforms should be enacted?
No, those are not laws, so that there's a difference. Those are not laws. Yeah. Because if they were laws, then we would have no choice but to adhere, to abide. But those are guiding principles.
International guiding principles.
Yes. So as it were, they don't matter. No, not that they don't matter. They guide. They give. They have been tested, and they guide us as election practitioners, as an election management body, on how best to handle these processes. Right. But life being as it is, there are exceptions. In any given context, there will be exceptions. So this is one of the exceptions. The Electoral Commission cannot sit here today and say, all right, the Constitution was amended in December. It's 8 months before the general election. It's too short, we can't do, and therefore we abrogate the Constitution. No. The fact that the Constitution has been amended, we have to execute on that. So what then should we do to mitigate some of the issues that that informed those international principles or guidelines? Is then work on those so that we mitigate the negative impact. So in respect to delimitation, for example, this is why we're saying, look, we're not tampering with the register of voters. You stay in demarcating, in establishing these new constituencies, will rearrange the wards. That's part of the way of mitigating the impact of the delimiting at this stage in the electoral cycle. Secondly, we're saying we're going to do a lot of these stakeholder consultations.
Yep.
So that is to do with delimitation. And then when it comes to the implementation of the proportional representation, we're saying, look, we'll do a lot of sensitization. That the primary, so this sensitization is in stages, okay? Of the immediate is, let's take the bill out there, let it be broad participation in the input in terms of how do we want this process of coming up with who takes up these proportional seats, representation seats. Now, the first people that need to understand this, the first group of stakeholders that needs to understand this very clearly is the political parties. So once the bill goes through and the act is in place, we're putting a premium on engaging these political parties to say, then how do you take advantage? How do you follow the law in making sure that you submit the party lists? You come up with these party lists, you submit them. And then from there on now, we go to the voters to say, look, this is what is going on. Your vote for the president has twofold meaning. Okay? Your presidential candidate may not be the eventual winner, but your vote has a secondary level of importance, has a second meaning which is equally important. It may get your party to have a seat in parliament through this representation. So that will communicate to the voters, and that will start. So those are some of the interventions as Electoral Commission of Zambia are putting in place to mitigate the risks or the negative impact that these principles speak to in implementing or changing the laws at this stage in the electoral cycle.
And what do you take the views of some stakeholders already? I think we have heard some CSOs, some of them, they seem to be against the ongoing electoral amendment bill, calling it that, look, if we embark on that, we might create more confusion in the electoral process come August this year. And I want to believe that the Commission and you as a CEO, you are a listening, or you must be a listening body or commission, as it were. What will happen to those voices? Are you going to hear or listen to them and bow to the pressure, or for you it's a one-way traffic?
No, on the contrary, at two levels. Firstly, I'm yet to get to hear of any stakeholder who has said, let's do away with this amendment. No. I think all stakeholders agreed that we have to put into operation what the Constitution provides. At the very minimum, this make the proportional representation electoral system. So stakeholders agreed on that. And they've also commended the Commission for sharing the bill. So, and they've looked at and providing an opportunity for them to add their voice to it. Now, yes, the one or two clauses in there, one or two amendments in there, that they have a different view from that of the Electoral Commission. And, stakeholder consultation as is, you find that in many an instance, you will get a perspective that never really, especially that we coming from practitioners. So we look at this from the angle of the people that implement, but they are looking from it as participants in the electoral process. And sometimes they have a perspective that we do not get to see. So that this process provides that opportunity. And it's for this reason that the Electoral Commission didn't say, look, the enactment of laws in Zambia, there's a process that Parliament goes through. You have, once a bill is, at some point it goes to what is called committee stage. And at that point, stakeholders are called to me. We said, we will not wait for that. Let's take it out there. So that even before it goes to Parliament, we've heard from stakeholders. And then as the bill goes to Parliament, the stakeholders will take note. So, okay, the Commission has taken into account what our views are on this aspect, and they've refined or they have updated the bill, as it were, so that then we can put into operation what the Constitution has provided for. So this itself, the fact that we have this opportunity where people are already commenting, is in itself a testament to the fact that the Commission is saying, look, ultimately we're doing this for the nation in order that, starting with the August 2026 election going forward, our elections continue to improve on their credibility levels. Yeah.
Let me bring in the aspect of the political parties, because these are the major players. The reason being that they are participants into this election.
Yes.
And you did mention that for you are quite concerned and would want them to listen to this message. It's very important to avoid any form of speculations or accusations on the body. I think days ago you were quoted in the media, whether correct or wrongly, but you were quoted. I'm grateful that you are here to clarify that fake statement which came out indicating or insinuating that the Commission is requesting for all those who are intending to participate, or rather to contest the election, to now go through the Registrar of Societies and have their names registered and stuff like that. But of course, within 24 hours, you were able to clarify that.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to reaffirm to that.
Yes. So
what's the correct information, since you are here now?
Yes, thank you. So I think what we need to, stakeholders need to appreciate there is the issue of contesting an election.
Yeah.
Okay, so the laws in Zambia provide for two categories of candidates that can contest, two broad categories.
Yeah.
There's an independent candidate and a candidate sponsored by a political party.
Yeah.
So those are the two. So in terms of the qualifications for one to contest an election, the Constitution has not amended those. Those are very clear.
That's Article 100.
Yes.
Yes.
So is that for members of parliament or presidential?
Correct.
Yeah. So those have not been touched. Yeah. Now, the law further indicates, so for you to be a candidate, you have to either be an independent or sponsored by a political party. So what the message of the Commission in various contexts that has been shared is that, look, if you are sponsored by a political party, the definition of a political party here is an organization that is registered with the Registrar of Societies.
Correct.
So therefore, as you submit your nomination paper, there's a section there that says, I am sponsored by a political party. The organization that you write there has to be a political party registered with registrars. That's the clear message. That's the message that the Commission is sharing, to say the institution you write there, so this is the institution sponsoring my candidature for whether it's a councillor, mayor, member of parliament or presidential candidate, is a political party. Otherwise, I'm an independent candidate. That's the clarification. Okay? So even if out there the messaging and all that comes with different names and so forth, ultimately at the end of the day, are you an independent candidate or am I being sponsored by the political party? That's it. Yeah. Yes.
Let's talk about alliances as well.
Yeah, so the alliance is, as we understand it, it's
an association.
Yes, an association coming together. All right. Now, for purposes of contesting an election, so maybe this is where the mix-up is coming. So for purposes of contesting, and you're presenting your nomination papers, you cannot say I'm sponsored by this alliance, because is that institution registered at the Registrar of Society? You can only say I'm sponsored by this political party or I am independent. Out there, the message you carry and you say, well, that's another issue. But as far as your nomination is concerned, it's either independent or sponsored by a political party.
We've also seen that in as much as, of course, you'd want to enact more laws, really, or to make these reforms, the the aspect of implementation, it has been quite poor on your side. You know, other scholars will tell you that in Zambia, we've got all these beautiful laws and very strong laws we have. But when it comes to implementation by the people in charge, like the commission, when you go to the Electoral Process Act, you go to the constitution, of course, of the country, Zambia, they are beautiful laws. But when it comes to implementation, again, becomes another issue. I want to cite an example of not long ago, your commission issued a statement, which let me just read in parts. This statement, CEO, was authored on the 10th of January 2026, and it reads, statement on the use of campaign regalia in the Chawama parliamentary and Kasama Miero by-election campaigns. The Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, wishes to remind all political parties, candidates and campaign teams in the Chawama parliamentary by-election scheduled for 15th January 2026, as well as those engaging in the ongoing campaigns in Kasama, to strictly adhere to the law regarding the use of campaign regalia. The Commission has noted, and now I want you to pay attention there, CEO. The Commission has noted with concern indications that some political parties and individuals who are not taking part in the Chawama parliamentary by-election appear to be engaging in campaign activities using regalia, symbols, or colors that do not belong to political to participating political parties or candidates. Such conduct has the potential to cause voters, to confuse rather voters, and undermine order in the electoral process. So here you are. This is a statement which you issued that was prior to the Chawama election, or rather during the Chawama by-election, as well as the Kasama Miero by-election. A very good proposal, but you failed to implement this law on your own as a commission.
Okay, so two aspects that you need to understand about elections, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's laws that speak to how the process must be done by ourselves. And that is, there's no question about the Electoral Commission is to that. Then there's laws about the conduct of participants in the electoral. Yes. Okay. So now there's two approaches that one would take. The hard and fast, but also the approach of education and stakeholder engagement for purposes of enhancing compliance. Because ultimately here, we are dealing with citizens' rights to participate.
Correct.
Okay? Now, that is the primary objective, that as many citizens, the citizens are given the opportunity to participate in an election. Okay? So now where you have infringement where you have abrogation of the code of conduct, your approach is to educate and engage the approach in order to enhance compliance, rather than the punitive, because remember at stake here is a citizen's right to participate in an election. So citizens should never view that as the weakness of the part of the election.
Maybe let's look at the legality of this statement and these laws we talked about. How legal was this statement? Let's begin from there.
Yeah, so this statement,
is it wrong for me to, for example, if I'm going to support CEO Brown Kasaro, who's maybe contesting on political party B, and then I don't belong to that political party, but you are my associate, and I wear a regalia of a different organization, I come and support you while using or wearing my regalia. What's wrong with that legally?
All right. So this issue began, I think, was brought to the fore last year. And the Commission did put out a statement highlighting that Section 2 of the Electoral Process Act defines campaign materials. Section should be 89, no, 82.
82.
Yeah. Outlines the restrictions around that.
Yeah.
So it is on the basis of this law that the Commission provided this guideline. Okay? Granted, different interpretations, but from the understanding of the Commission, the law is very clear. Okay? So it is from this perspective that the Commission put out that statement. So look, this is what the law provides. Okay? I think at the heart of that law is really taking our confusion from the voter. All right? I think that's the principle that informed the enactment of that particular section.
What confusion are you talking about?
So, remember, we're dealing with voters that are not literate, okay? A good number of them. And when people are campaigning out there, the primary message is vote for the symbol and that symbol, okay? And it's not necessarily names, it's not necessarily, but really symbols and so forth. So then you find that as the voter is going to cast their vote, they are very clear in terms of the symbols associated with this candidate. Yeah, so that is the spirit of that particular law. And it's from that perspective that the Commission issued this statement to clarify that and send out this message. Yeah. Stakeholders have different views about it, but it was clarified. The legal position was spelled out there. Yes, we hear arguments around interpretation and so forth, but this is what it is. Yeah. And then in terms of the implementation, again, to go at the approach of the Commission is to look, let's engage for purposes of enhancing compliance rather than coming at it from the punitive perspective, so that then we make sure that we continue to foster the citizens' right to participate in elections.
I will also push in on the same question. When you speak to these issues, I think you have been in this country for quite longer. You understand how election has been conducted in Zambia. You understand on matters of alliances and stuff like that, the association. Let's set an example. The current administration of the UPND went into government via an alliance, via an association called the UPND Alliance. And why should you stop the UPND, for example, an MDC member, maybe an RPP member, to go and help the UPND candidate in Kasama while wearing his campaign material?
All right. So
that is a problem again.
Yeah, so I think that then we in the debate we are targeting the wrong entity here. We're approaching the debate the wrong way. Maybe what we should be asking ourselves is then, why don't we bring clarity to that piece of law? Shouldn't we be discussing that to say, all right, can we then review this piece of, so that we bring clarity? What did we mean by a person shall not, a candidate participating in an election shall not associate themselves with a symbol other than the symbol and material that they said they are going to contest? Okay, so that's what probably we should be discussing. I
thought the meaning has been captured. You are talking about confusing a voter out there.
Yes, so
I'm also taking you back to the UDA time. You know, today the UPND time in government. We've got also the Tonse Alliance, you know, in the opposition.
So then the question we should be asking ourselves is, as Parliament was enacting that law, what did they want?
Right.
Maybe that's the question we should be asking. As they were providing that restriction in the law, what did they mean? So that then that should be the implementation that the Electoral Commission should be looking at. What did they mean? What is that restriction all about? Rather than saying the Commission is, yes, maybe the law was not looked at, was ignored before and so forth, but should that really be our approach to say, look, you know, maybe that's what we should be looking at and saying.
And I'm sure you are aware how much, you've been accused as ECZ, your body has been accused that it is a compromised institution which is not capable to run a free and fair elections. And these things are emanating from here. When you go further again on the ground, people tell you, especially when you issue this statement, during the Chawama by-election, a number of people thought or were alleging that you were basically targeting the Patriotic Front, the former ruling party. Were you?
No, there is no political party mentioned in that statement. And to buttress that point, during that same time, images were posted on various media of some political parties that went to campaign on behalf of candidates other than the FDD candidate. And those were brought to the fore to the commission. But again, they missed the point. Because some of the comments, no, but you are not allowing these, but what about this? But look, the statement just says all political parties. It didn't say this particular political party, don't put on this regalia. It says this is what the law says. Be reminded as such.
So do you act or just speak for the sake of speaking?
Like I've said before.
It's about threatening the people out there.
No, not
Let's give context, CEO, to this, what you understand some of the people that went on to campaign, supporting other political parties, but of course wearing regalia of a different political party. Or should I say, the people that breached this law you are talking about. So let's have some videos there, Director.
I wish to thank the general public for coming out in numbers to come and support the candidature of the UPND mayoral candidate by Symposium. A win is always a plus. It was not easy. This is an opposition stronghold, but then today it shows that politics is not about tribe. Politics is about the way forward. This will also ensure that the people of Kasama get more from the national cake as we put the mayor of the UPND into our system. The Kasama municipality has been predominantly patriotic front, so we've had a few challenges here and there. But now that we have someone from the ruling party, I feel things will work better and move better. And I also wish to actually thank the public for having confidence to vote for Mr. Symposia, who will lead us as the mayor of Kasama district. He is a man of his word, a man of action, and I think I'll be very pleased to work with him as well as the area member of parliament for Kasama Central constituency. In life, I wish to also thank God for making it possible for this to come to pass. Everything has a time and a season, and this is the time for Mr. Symposia to be in office. I also wish to wish him well, and I once again wish to tell the people of Kasama Central constituency that as your leader, I am here to offer the best choice and the best opportunity in line with what the UPND policies have, which are good policies. We have to implement CDF, which each and every ward in my constituency has benefited. So I will go the extra mile with the mayor so that we can ensure that we deliver everything that has not been made possible. There's many other areas that we'll look into, which I will not take time to mention now, but I can assure you that Kasama will never be the same again. We shall do our best to ensure that the people get the best out of what they voted for. And for the political parties that did not make it during this election, I also wish to congratulate them for taking part in the election. Politics is merely a game, but at the end of the day, let us all culminate into one thing. We are one people, people of Kasama Central, people of Kasama District. So let us just put on our working shoes, let us work together. My office is open, my door is always open. I wish to thank the general public for coming out.
Pali chine twalaya mbokusala pali ba UPND alliance candidates wa Munda mchinsali Munda numala mukwayi chikala mbete twaendela kwisa mukumukosha bambi mulayipusha nomba ba mumba mwaisa shani mulili lyashe MMD yatwaleita at MMD twalichinja nomba di New Nation Party NNP yaikatana pamo na UPND ukubombela pamo mpaka tukawine 2026 mu August. Atwa balekele na mfelipa nono kuti balepema na okupema mpaka twawina. Kanshi luno lubilo lwayamba nomba kuno kuchawama. Ero tulekonka nyapo.
So when you listen and watch those videos, also go back to the statement you issued cautioning political players. Don't wear different political party regalia if you are not participating in that by-election. You've got clans in there, in Nevas Mumba, the president of the New Nation Party, NNP. There is also Madam Swongele Mwamba from the Patriotic Front, but visibly so, and fearlessly so, they went against this statement. What have you done to these individuals?
So I'll go back to what I'd said earlier. Firstly, it speaks to the statement. The statement was not targeting any. The statement was to all participants in the election.
Correct.
So, yeah. Then earlier I also said that the approach of the Commission is to engage in order to enhance compliance to the legal framework when it comes to the code of conduct and so forth. So that is the approach. Yeah. So we are bringing this issue to the fore so that we enhance compliance out there, rather than going for
punitive actions.
The punitive actions there and then. But also remember that ultimately the enforcement of the laws is not entirely in the hands of the Commission. The Commission works together. So the stakeholders themselves also have a role to play. Then we have the police, we have the other law enforcement agencies, depending on the nature of the infraction, have a role to play. So we're working together to see how best can we get the electoral process to be as compliant, every participant in the electoral process to be as compliant to the laws as possible. So this is where we stand as the Electoral Commission.
So what will happen, I'm citing this because what will happen in future if you see other members from different political parties behave or abrogate the rules here, abrogate the command from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Look, we are getting to an election, general election, and it will be quite a bit motive, you'll be quite busy as well. Are you going to keep on issuing statements, empty statements? What will happen, for example, a different political party behaves in the same manner these have behaved? Are you going to act on them? And if you're going to act on them, what will stop them accusing you that you are being biased?
Yeah, so I think in terms of starting with the last part of your question, accusing us of being biased, I think the basis of this whole discussion is really, what does the law say? What did Zambians mean by putting that particular clause in the law? Okay? This is our interpretation of the Electoral Commission. Okay? Now, like I said, enforcement of the law is not an entirely the Electoral Commission of Zambia. It's all stakeholders in the process working together to ensure that elections are credible. So the Commission will do its part. The participants in the electoral process, we're all interested in making sure that the election is as credible. So we're engaged. You know, at some point we get the sense as implementers of the electoral process that as citizens we look at participants in the electoral process as children, if I may use that example, as children in a school. That when they make noise, the fault is always the head teacher. You must make sure you whip them that they don't make. But we're dealing with adults here. Is it always the fault of the head teacher that these adults are making noise? These questions that you are stakeholders and the media are directing at the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Let's bring political parties on the table and say, why are you not abiding?
No, but you are there as well to implement these laws.
Exactly. You're going back to my illustration.
Yes.
That we are approaching this from the headmaster pupil perspective. So no, let's whip these children into submission and they shouldn't make noise. But really, we're dealing with adults. And it's not the commission that put that law into place. It's the same people that go to parliament. They enacted that law. What did they mean? What did they want the Electoral Commission to do with that piece of legislation? So that's the issue that we should be discussing. Okay, let's throw the question out there. What did we mean by putting this law in the Electoral Process Act, this particular section? What does it mean? What did we want to achieve with it? So I think so it's a collaboration, coming back to, so it's a collaboration so that working together, we may continue to enhance the compliance and improve the credibility.
Let's talk about, maybe this could be my last question. I know that sooner or later, I think we will invite you and your team to come and talk about maybe the printing of ballot papers as well, which is another critical process. I know by then, even stakeholders who may be required to go and witness the printing process, as it were, to enhance transparency and inclusiveness, as you envisage in this document. But my question is, how long does it take for you to print the ballot papers, for example, let's start an example of a by-election?
So for a by-election, it's a very short period that is required.
Right.
And again, we cannot give a broad time because by-elections differ. You would have, like we just had for Kasama, it's a whole district because we're dealing with the mayor. But like today, we're just having an election for a ward in Serenje.
Yeah.
Very small word. That printing within a day, it's done.
Right.
Within hours, actually, within hours, it's done.
Do we print locally?
No, we did inform the nation. I think that should have been late 2024. That we engaged our Korea printing group
in Dubai.
To print ballot papers for Zambia. And we're in contract with them for a long, so they will also print the 2026 general election ballot papers. So we do not print locally. So the period it takes varies. So for by-elections, if it's for a whole district, it could take up to a week or in days, and then they have to be shipped to them. For a general election, because there now you're talking countrywide, and you're talking 4 different types of elections: the presidential, National Assembly, mayor, and the councillor. So for all those 4 types for the whole country, that should take us up to a month. Yes.
And what happened in an event where, for example, there is you discover an anomaly, there's an error somewhere on a ballot paper. How much time is required for it to print? How is that done?
So the process of the printing industry has protocols, has ways in which they handle what is called a print job.
Right.
It's a very rigorous process of proofreading and sign-off before a printing is done. So much of the work, a lot of work goes into prevention of the errors, okay, before they happen, so that when you put the job onto the final press to print, they call them the printing press, that's the term they use, you are almost certain that it's
perfect.
It's perfect. In the unlikely event that there's an error, again, it depends what size of, how many ballot papers are we talking about? Is it a constituency? Is it a ward? Is it a whole district for a mayor? Or is it the whole country for a presidential? Then it will take. So I know you may be referring to the Lumezi case.
Correct.
Yeah, because it was dealing with a constituency, the printing itself doesn't take long. Because it was one constituency, the printing itself, a day or 2, it's done. What would take time is arranging the flights and so forth to deliver the ballot papers to Zambia.
So in the case of the Lumezi of Lufeyo Ngoma, when that anomaly was noticed, it never took you long to print? No, how many hours did it take? Because I think that raised a lot of eyebrows. People, they said, look, we don't print locally. How possible that the commission has within 24 hours managed to replace the name of Lufeyo Ngoma?
Yeah, so the printing itself, like I said, for one constituency, it doesn't take long. It's a within hours job, okay? And because the quantities involved were not very huge, okay? We're talking maybe 5 boxes, and so forth, that were able to be flown into Zambia as part of cargo on a passenger plane. Okay, so we know there are flights every day from Dubai into Zambia. And we're fortunate enough to be able to get space on that flight to ferry the ballot papers into Zambia. So even the original, or the ones that had mistake, the printing itself didn't take long. It's just that it was not an issue of interest at that point. So, okay, have you started now? Oh, have you finished? Oh, have you put them on the plane? They're in Zambia. It was not an issue of interest at that point. But this particular one was watched because it became an issue. So at that point, then it looked like, look, the commission, how come they've turned this around this short period of time? It's because of the quantities involved. Otherwise, we would have come back to the nation and said, look, the period is short, and we'll postpone the election and provide.
But did you engage the stakeholders? Because, people expect that at that particular point you should have even called for a press briefing to explain, yes, we have taken note of this, but however, we are going to go back and recorrect this.
Yes, so we met the stakeholders on the ground in Lumezi, because that's where this election was taking place. All the contesting political parties and independent candidates were engaged. This is the situation, and this is how we'll proceed. Beyond that, we issued press statements to the nation. So this is what has happened. This is the corrective action the commission is taking. When the reprinted ballot papers arrived, all the participating political parties were represented at the airport as we were receiving. We witnessed the arrival. Even the dispatch to Lumezi, we were together. And even the arrival in Lumezi, all the stakeholders were there. It's just that, which is an unfortunate issue, is that stakeholders, even when you go through that, they will get to other forums and indicate we were not consulted. When the evidence is there in pictures. So here they were. They signed for this. So we've received, and we've witnessed.
No, I'm talking about this particular case alone.
Exactly.
This special case
of
we
were together.
Ngoma, whose name was omitted.
Yes.
When you were correcting that, did you engage the stakeholders?
Yes. So in Lumezi, the stakeholders were engaged.
Right.
When we printed and the ballot papers arrived, personally, I was at the airport.
Right.
Stakeholders were there. We were together, all representing all the candidates, witnessing the arrival. We verified, opened one book to say, yes, everything is okay now. Dispatched to Lumezi via air transport. We were together. So we do engage stakeholders. Even where we get to record, you find that one or two go out, no, we were not engaged. But we're not given up. We'll continue to enhance the engagement. And really the proof is there for the people of Zambia to note that, look, who is being insincere here? Is it the Electoral Commission or this particular stakeholder? Because this process was not done in secrecy. It was out there. We informed the nation at every stage of what we're doing to correct the situation.
5 months before the general election, CEO, as we wind up this program and the viewers are watching this interview right now, the stakeholders are also keenly following you. Is your commission a compromised commission which is incapable to run a free and fair elections? I want you to guarantee the people of Zambia watching this program this evening. Are you a compromised institution? Do you sometimes receive pressure maybe from the executive that you can't do this because of I appointed you, for example, CEO?
So the Electoral Commission of Zambia is an independent institution guided by the Constitution and the other laws in terms of how it manages the elections. Now, 5 months before the election, as we rightly put it, we've laid out a program, a roadmap, and informed stakeholders. This is what we'll be doing at every stage. Now, elections are not conducted in an office, as it were. Elections are a public activity. And what is decided in the boardroom will translate out there. So let the people of Zambia assess the commission from the decisions that it's implementing out there. What happens in the boardroom will reflect out there by the decisions that the commission has taken. So this is how we're going to do this, this is when we're going to do this, and this is the reason we're going to do this. So from time immemorial in this country, from the time we transitioned into multi-party democracy, the commissions have been under this constant accusation, no, you're biased. The commissions have demonstrated that they've done their best to run elections according to the laws. However, these accusations have lingered on. But what we're saying as the Electoral Commission is, look, let's look, what do the laws say? And are the decisions that the Commission making aligned or in compliance with the law? And then let's make judgments from there. We understand that elections are heavily contested. There's a lot at stake. And there's a temptation to begin to cast doubts on the referee, as it were. But it's up to the citizens out there to say, look, how is this institution managing these elections? And begin to point out, say, okay, we are making this accusation because of that and that, rather than just saying, no, you're compromised. You receive instructions. Which instructions? Where and when? So really that's the core from the Electoral Commission to say, look, we've laid out this program as we go towards 2026. Follow along. And as we make decisions along the way, you can point out, say, no, but why are you making these decisions? If we're not able to explain it, then you can make that accusation. But where it's clearly in line with the law, then really let's, as a nation, begin to build confidence in these institutions, like ourselves, as in the Electoral Commission, so that together we can continue to enhance the transparency and indeed the credibility of the elections, so that then, we as part of the international community, we are looked at in high esteem. And I must confess here that, amongst our peers as election management bodies, the Electoral Commission is a respected institution. We get a lot of peers coming to learn how we do these things. And part of it is arising from the scrutiny that we get from stakeholders, the reforms that have taken place in terms of the management of elections in Zambia. But as it were, sometimes it gets to be a case of the prophet is without honor except in their own house. But be that as it may, we continue to, we realize as an institution that what we manage is a national critical mandate that will be under a lot of scrutiny. But what we're saying is scrutinize based on the laws and point out where the Electoral Commission has deviated. But not, rather than saying, putting across these accusations that are just out there, no, you received instructions, no, you did this, and so forth. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, CEO, for coming through to KBN TV. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. A pleasure is ours to be able to use this platform to speak to the nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking to the Chief Electoral Officer, CEO of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Mr. Brown Kasaro. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.